Calling all ballers to the Get In Here podcast, episode 2. Baseball superstars of all sports, and superstars just looking to learn. I'm here with Coach Red of Undiscovered Prospects. It's going to be a really fun one. We're really excited. So we're just going to jump right into it. I'm Coach Charlie, as you guys know, and this is Coach Red. So, and if, people might also know him as Thomas Evans. Coach Red, tell us a little bit about your journey and how you got to where you are today. And what's your story in baseball?
Yeah, so I obviously was a baseball player, played baseball. Baseball is the avenue how I grew up my whole life. I moved around a lot as a kid, so baseball was the avenue I met people. I mean, that's how I'm meeting you right now, is through the game of baseball. So I am a baseball player at heart. Um, Played in college, dropped out of college, came back. Eventually found my mental game, became an All-American, started teaching the mental game online, and that's, again, how we met. So my love for this game has a lot of layers to it, but that's kind of how I ended up where I'm at here today. How did you get here? If we're both meeting here online, you know what I mean? Like, we met each other through online. How did you get to this exact moment?
Absolutely. So, played baseball my whole life, stopped in high school, felt a little pressure by association, decided to go to University of Arizona just to start a new, fresh start for myself. Then really started to fall in love over there with psychology and just impacting people and through my experiences, and led me back to Florida, where I grew up coming my whole life because my grandparents lived in the Bradenton, Sarasota area. So really just kind of picked the brains of some of the mental performance coaches in this space. Um, and they gave me great advice of, if you're down here trying to get your master's in performance psych, try to do anything you can to work at IMG to learn there and really jumpstart, this field. This mental performance space for yourself. And so as I was finishing my master's, I worked at IMG Golf Club to be able to afford it and to be able to try to get my foot in the door over there. And I was fortunate enough to meet a guy named Tim Pernetti, who's now the commissioner of the American Conference. Very, very grateful for him. He really gave me the start. I met him at the golf course, and I just explained my passion, and I want to just impact people, and I just wanted to learn. And IMG created the first ever mentorship for leadership and mental performance for me, and I was there on my own time, close to 30 plus hours a week. And I was fortunate enough to learn from some of the best. And the following summer, they gave me an opportunity to be a summer mental performance coach. I worked with every sport they had there and really, really grew a foundation, and decided that the best move for me was to create my own business. And that's kind of how I got here today. But what made me fall in love with the game of baseball is just all the life skills and all the things that the game taught me. Whether it was work ethic, development, sticking with it, how to communicate, how the results might not show up right away, but to believe in yourself, staying positive, how to be strong when adversity hits, how to be disciplined. So I can never repay the game for that. So I'm extremely grateful to be where I am today, but just to be able to have this platform to impact people, whether you're a business owner, whether you're an athlete, whether you're someone coming into the field, or whether you're just someone that just wants to learn and see how they can use these skills to apply to what they're doing right now. And again, just super grateful to have you, Coach Red. My next thing is, okay, when people hear Division III All-American, what do you want them to understand about the grind behind that title?
Yeah, so I would just say that the easiest way I can sum it up in a sentence is just say that's a byproduct. That is a byproduct of the things that we both talk about on our platforms, of the habits, of the accountability, of taking responsibility, of all these little things adding up in this equation, and it creates a byproduct of an All American 400 hitter. And whether you say, oh, it's D3, whatever, all that indicates is that I played a season at the higher level of a division. Okay, so whether it's D2, D3, JUCO, NAIA, the people that have the most success get that award or these awards as byproducts of, again, discipline, habits, mentality, all this stuff that we are now trying to preach to this um, younger generation or anyone listening. Like you said, business owners, people, anyone that wants mental game.
I love that, and I think that's important to talk about that byproduct, and it's something that you really had to believe in yourself, and you had a process that worked for you, and you stuck by it. So that's my next question is, did you always believe that you could become that All-American, or did that belief develop later on as you could kind of see the end of the tunnel and that goal was achievable?
Mm-hmm. Well, I would say I always saw it. Like I always thought in my head, like I just wanted to execute at a high clip. Even when I was a kid, like I used to like think about what if like I like played games and I like got on base every time and I didn't make errors. That's how it started as a kid. Like I wanted to play like that. And then as I got older, like what that kind of morphed into was like you get little spurts of success and that turned into like I want to hit 400 or like I'm not a fast guy but I want to steal bags or like I've been playing first base my whole life and then my senior year of college asked me to go play outfield and it's like all right I just want to maximize I want to maximize my potential if it was a level on a video game I want to get all the levels, you know what I mean. And my goal was never an All American. Like I said, that was a byproduct, but the goal was to just have a high level of execution, really. So, like, down to the root. It was just a high level of execution. And I wanted to do it the way I felt I could. And then I did.
So did you when you were building, like, when you were following that, let's just call it that script, that system that you built, did you have a vision of like, this is the player I want to become? These are
Mm,
the avenues that I need to take to get there? Or was it
yeah.
more of, okay, day by day, if I do these things, I'm going to get here? Or was it both?
It, it's more the first one than the second one. So it was like, um, I was going through like a transformative period of my life going into my senior year of college where I really stopped a lot of bad habits that like most and what they're bad or not it doesn't really matter but the habits I didn't want to do anymore. I didn't want to hang out and like do college activities, let's just call it that. I wanted to learn, I wanted to actually dive into the mind. Like I started reading books about the mind and tapping into my potential because I was someone that had skill but lacked belief. So like I started to take action towards building that belief and that was gaining knowledge. I used to do a meditation every single day, and I'd found this one that I really liked, and it was like a 5-stage meditation that took about 15 minutes, but it would talk about like it was like dream like the first stage was like dream about your goal body, and like as an athlete, like I wanted to be in the best shape of my career, so diet, workout, I wanted to get faster. Then the second stage was like talking about like forgive yourself. So like I had to forgive my old self, not be hard on myself for the things I've gone through, like quitting and all that stuff. I had to move past that emotionally, mentally. And then like the third, the fourth, the fifth part was all talking about like envisioning that person of you succeeding. What are they doing? What would your day look like? What would your perfect day look like on the field? What like that's what I would think about. It wasn't a baseball meditation, but it was a lot of like visualizing. And at that point, I had played baseball so much, you can kind of visualize what it would look like for you to succeed because we've all had success. So it's really about visualizing doing that success over and over and over. And I kind of backtracked it that way down to like, all right, before I go to bed, I'm going to write out my to do list for tomorrow. I'm going to work out. eat right, whatever. And it doesn't like it's not like perfect, and it's hard to describe because it doesn't happen all at once. Little things happen along the way. I'll give you one more example. Like, started learning more about the mind, so I started reading every day, doing meditation every day. My senior year was the only year of college where I had like a real strength coach write me a workout plan. So I had a progressive plan that unfolded like divinely for me. You know what I mean? And it was like a lot of things just start unfolding once you make the choice to start like working towards something. That makes sense. I said a lot there, but
No, no,
it's tough to answer in one shoot. You know.
absolutely, and it makes a ton of sense because there's a ton of components and a ton of layers within these different systems that we implement. But, my next question was gonna be, when did you seriously start taking the mental side of the game serious? And it seems like that senior year is really when you
Mm-hmm.
started to dive into that. So, like, you know, is it something that you noticed about your game when you're doing these things? Or was it more of, okay, I'm starting to see success since I'm reading and I'm having a routine and I have a plan that I believe in?
Yeah, it was like you kind of pick up some like tricks that kind of work, right? Like you start doing. I started doing the to do list before I go to bed, so it took away all of that. I knew what choices I was gonna make the next day. I took away that. I think they call it decision fatigue. So like I wasn't getting tired off of what do I eat? What am I gonna? All that stuff. Wrote my to do list. I knew my workout plan. I didn't go in the gym and I'm like, today I'm gonna hit this. Maybe I'll hit that. Nah, I already knew that. So like when you free up all that mental, you really start to create space in your mind to have awareness of what it is you're doing every day, and then you
Mhm.
become more intentional about what you're doing every day. So the more I got a routine down, the more aware I became of that routine, and then it's like a it's like a effort thing. I want to pit my best effort towards me succeeding in the spring. So like every day, if I check all these boxes, there's no way for me to fail.
I love that. And one thing that I noticed, when I started taking the mental game seriously was the best players weren't necessarily always the most um, talented, but they were the most consistent, right?
Mm-hmm.
And what I mean by that is that consistency came from the mindset, routines, and how they responded to adversity. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and for me, being around that and seeing people do that at the highest of levels, it really was a game changer for me when I saw that because I'm like, they have all these different players have all these different systems that work for them. It might not be the same, but they're all taking parts of what everybody else is doing. If they're being successful at the highest level, and they're trying to be like, how can I incorporate this to what I'm doing?
Mm-hmm.
And it might not necessarily work, but along that process of trying to find it, you're going to find something that works for you, and you're going to start to trust it because you're going to
Mm-hmm.
start to see the 1%. Like you were saying, I'm building for the spring, right? Well, if I'm building for the spring, and in December, January, February, March, even before that, I'm building those days so I can be ready. It's like when you hear, Coach Saban for Alabama talk about championships are won in the offseason.
Mm-hmm.
100% true. And I believe that in Major League Baseball as well. The players that are the most successful, they know what they need to do in the offseason to achieve that. And they already know going into at least the highest, the elitists of the elite. They
Mm-hmm.
know that when they put in that work and they're working on different things and the details, they're going to be
Mm-hmm.
successful. So
Mm-hmm.
I love that. And I would ask you, I would ask you too is, what mental skill do you feel like most players ignore until it's too late?
I and I think this correlates really well to what you were just talking about, how like learning how to respond, like players learning how to respond. I think that the breath, like controlling your breath, in my opinion, is the most important skill, because your response is based off of your emotional versus logical level. Like, is your response emotional to what just happened to you, or is your response logical and controlled? And even if it is emotional, are you using those emotions to your benefit, or are they making you crash down? So, like, your breath, when I take a deep inhale and reset myself and I calm down in the moment, whether it's a good moment or a bad moment, I'm back on this level. I'm not up here, I'm not down here. Because, and I had a coach in college that really, Coach Tui, shout out to Coach Tui. He was one that was big on the breath, and he kind of opened the door for me. And then I started educating myself on it. And the science behind it proves that, as I'm sure you're aware, like, being able to control your breath and slow your heart rate down in moments where most people are doom, 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 hearts beating fast. Like, I used to think, like, if there's a runner on second with 2 outs, like, the pitcher's heart's probably beating faster than mine. Like, I used to think that was an edge, because I could slow my heart rate down and be really, really tunnel vision and calm. And that was a lot just based off the breath. That was like the easiest thing to incorporate, I feel like, that most players could incorporate right now. You got a pop quiz in math class tomorrow. Take a deep breath before it, calm yourself down. Like, I think that the breath is really crucial. I mean, what do you think? What do you think is like a go-to skill that everyone could incorporate, right now?
Absolutely. I think, emotional regulation, controlling your emotions is huge, kind of going off what you were saying.
Mm-hmm.
And definitely agree with ability to reset. Controlling your emotions, you know, understanding why you're feeling the way that you're feeling, and understanding if it's positive or negatively affecting your performance at
Mm-hmm.
and whatever you're doing, and then using that breath to respond in a positive way to impact your performance. But the ability to reset is huge. Taking that deep breath, whether you're as long as your exhale is longer than your inhale, and reaching that deep state of calmness,
Mm-hmm.
I think that is something that most athletes ignore, or anyone in general ignores that until it's too late. And that's a tough skill to acquire, to be able to calm yourself down during pressured situations and reset. I've heard people, teach athletes, business owners, like, flush it, like that small toilet, flush it away.
Mm-hmm.
I'm more of a, okay, wipe, think about you're wiping your hand on your pants, and that's what's bothering you, and that's what the moment is. And if it's too
Mm-hmm.
much, just wipe it away. If you made a mistake, wipe it away. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and I also call it the 3-second rule. You can dwell on it for 3 seconds, then let it go. You
Mm-hmm.
know, um, so for me, like, those are the two that really stand out. And I really thought of that those were the, like, as a player, I would have thought that the ability to reset was more important. But as a coach, I think the emotional regulation piece is really important, because the person across from you, or whatever environment you're in and whatever you do, can tell a lot about you by how you're handling yourself, by how your body language is. And I can
Mm-hmm.
tell you right now, as someone that's, been around professional baseball, for a very long time, especially, like, being around scouts, and knowing what they look for. I can tell you firsthand, most of them are right off the bat. They're looking at how they don't care that they're there to see the person be successful, that they're there to see,
Mm-hmm.
but they want to see when it's not going well. How are you going to hold yourself together, and how are
Yeah.
you going to respond? So, going into, like, the coach versus player, how would you define confidence when you were playing and now as a coach?
Yeah, like, as a player, I really feel like it was just a choice. So, like, I put in all that work, I did all these things, like we talked about. I was preparing for the spring long before it came. Then when the spring arrived, it was just a choice. Like, I choose thinking the most positive, optimistic outcome at all times. I believe in me. If there's a runner on third with 2 outs, then I'm going to score him. If there's 2 outs and no one on, I'm going to get on first base. I believe in me regardless. Um, as a coach, it's kind of something that I'm still learning, but obviously like there's things that you see that are habits that repeat. Like the thing that I'm still trying to understand as a coach is that I can't feel what the player's feeling, but I obviously see the players that stay the most calm over the duration of practice, who are the most consistent in showing up, who have the most discipline to executing their routines that they do at practice. Those things play out, in your favor, right? But like it's very individualized to like who you are as a player, because some people are just born with confidence, I feel like, and some people have a hard time. And I was someone that grew up having a hard time to have confidence, and but that's kind of what I think. I don't know. What do you think? Similar, a little bit different, or?
For me, I felt like I was someone that had confidence, but didn't really know what it consisted of. And as a player, like I felt like confidence was like momentum, right? When
Uh-huh.
I'm confident, I can feel it. It's like it's very performance centered. But as a coach, I was like, I can see like I have to see my athletes like confidence is earned, if that makes
Mm-hmm.
sense. Like it's the trust in your work, it's your routines, it's your ability to respond under pressure and really, you know, I think the most crucial part is it's that support system. When you have a
Mm-hmm.
strong support system, you're going to be really confident in your abilities because you got a good foundation behind you, and just understanding like, hey, I've put in the work for all these different things. Like I should be confident. I deserve to be here, and I get to have this opportunity. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and I think, it's also hard to say because for me, I felt I didn't really see it that way as a player. Um, but I also didn't really understand everything about how the mind worked.
Mm-hmm.
Um, when I was at that point. So kind of like going off to what you were saying is, you
Mm-hmm.
know, I see a lot of things, but you can't feel what the person, across from you that you're trying to teach is feeling. But
Yeah.
I can tell you what you can do is you can understand if they're understanding the basis behind why they have confidence. Like,
Yeah.
what does a confident player look like to you? You know,
Mm-hmm.
how can you become that person? Like, what 5 steps can you take to achieve that? So I'm I like to ask my athletes and business owners a lot of like clarifying questions to make them gain that sense of clarity, because I think that's really important. Like, for instance, like I want to ask them if they're trying to figure out why they're not so confident. I'm gonna be like, what is when you're at your best and when you're at your most confident, what does that look like? What does it feel like? What did you do that day to get there?
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that's so crucial because then you're kind of sitting back and you're kind of looking at it from the grand scheme of things from a whole
Right.
different perspective. And you can step back and be like, wow, like I never really thought of it like that.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when I know as a practitioner, like I got you. Like you're in a good flow now, and we're gonna get to the
Yeah.
root of
Yeah.
it. But I also see a lot of athletes that you know who bounce back quickly and and sometimes, it's tough to understand what separates someone who bounces back quickly from someone who spirals. So,
Mm-hmm.
going into that, what do you think the defining factors in athletes that spiral versus bouncing back?
Yeah. I think like um, everything starts with like the thoughts that you think, and you can kind of like fake it till you make it your way out of it by having like positive body language. But the thoughts that you think on a reoccurring basis make up your mood. They make up like your whether you're happy as a person, whether you're usually sad, or the you gotta become aware. And like what you were saying, like looking on the grand scheme of things. And as a practitioner, as a coach, we can help players get more aware of what it is that they're trying to accomplish, what their current habits are, what's limiting them. But if you become aware of your thoughts that you think on a regular basis when you're not trying to think, like something just happens and I'm like, oh, all right, like I just caught myself there. Like, why am I responding like that? It's not that bad, or I can actually respond right here. Like, no one tells you when you make an error or when you strike out that you have to respond a certain way, but most people do respond a certain way. So, like, how can I completely flip my thoughts around and think positive all the time? Like, what if I was the most positive person on the world? Like, somebody's the most positive person on the world. Why can't that be me? And it starts with the thought, because then if I think more positive, I'm going to take more actions with more confidence and more positive body language, and I'm going to kind of orate that confidence and embody that confidence. I love the word embody. I think you said that earlier, but embody confidence. And I really think it starts with the thoughts that you think. And it's not some like, some of the things we talk about on here, they sound so simple, but like it really sometimes is, that simple. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I loved how you ended that with the simplicity. I'm trying to simplify everything for the person that I'm working with, or just myself in general. But like when I think of the difference between an athlete who bounces back quickly from an athlete who spirals, it, first off, my teaching technique very value driven, and I'm a very systematic thinker. So I'm trying to when I'm talking to you and I'm listening, I'm doing a really good job of just listening, staying present, using my active listening, but I'm also, trying to flip the switch on the other side of my brain where I'm like, okay, I'm listening, but I'm already thinking as well about how I want to help them build different types of systems based off
Mm-hmm.
what I'm hearing. That's just how my brain works. I'm working on two things at once. So active listening was really tough for me, but I've gotten a
Mm-hmm.
lot better at it. But going back to, what separates the athletes from bouncing back quickly versus an athlete that spirals is bounce back athletes, they have a system and a standard,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
And we live by that standard. Nothing's gonna throw us off from that standard. And we have a system that we believe in. And athletes that spiral, they let one mistake turn into another. It's like a constant effect, just letting one thing go after another
It's
because
that
they haven't
momentum.
worked on those things. They probably haven't worked on those things or haven't been taught how. Because elite athletes are going to reset fast because they control their thoughts, their body language, and they know exactly in that moment, okay, I have a system that I know how to respond because I've worked on it. Um, so for me, like that's the big difference maker because you know elite athletes are going to have all those things, and it's because they care about those things. And if you want to be the best in whatever you're doing, you're going to pay attention to the details. You're going to do everything you can to gain an edge. And in life, it's what you're going to have to do. You have to be thinking in the back of your head, even when you're at your best. There's someone else out there that's doing maybe more than I am right now. So I
Mm-hmm.
have to maximize my time and
Yeah.
embody who I am while I'm
Can
doing
I
it.
uh, can I give you an example to kind of show you my system that I had? So if I love that you said earlier that it's like momentum, because that's exactly how I used to think. Like I wanted to get in rhythm with the game. Like each game you show up and play, the team you're playing's got a different demeanor. Some are more chirpy, some are more laid back. Some guys just get to business, whatever. But I wanted to get in rhythm with the game. And if I was failing, if I struck out, made an error, I would take that deep breath and I'd tell myself, I'm grateful to be where I'm at because I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. I probably said that saying thousands of times over the course of that season because I would say it every time I had a low moment. What's down must come up. I would reset, shake it, next pitch. And then I would try to build that rhythm up. I'm always hustling to my position. I'm always hustling to the dugout. I'm always hustling. I'm hustling everywhere because I can control that effort. And I felt like that effort was taking up that momentum, taking up that momentum. And then boom, I hit a double. And then once I felt like I got that rhythm on my side, it was like, all right, now I just got to keep pushing. Most guys hit a double and they take the foot off the gas. No, I hit a double and I'm going to sprint back into the dugout if I don't score home. I'm going to sprint out to my position and then I'm ready for the next pitch. I forgot about the double. I'm looking forward. I want to make the next play. So it's like this constant game of momentum. and you got to play up to it if you're down, and if you're up, you just got to keep pushing forward. You got to keep the foot on the gas literally all the time. But that, just to give you an example, that's kind of a mental framework that I kind of worked around to get in rhythm with the game, bounce back, not really spiral down, but try to spiral up.
And I love how you said that about like, I'm hitting a double, I'm already focused on the next play.
Mm-hmm.
What can I do? You know, um, and that's what I call next play speed. And that's something that I teach is I want you to be even keel, whether you're getting whether you're 3 for 3 or you're 0 for 4 with 4Ks. I want you to have the same confidence, the same mindset day in, day out. And some of my athletes will be like, well, how can I have the same mindset going 3 for 3 versus 0 for 4? I go, you think, you think Juan Soto or Aaron Judge is going to let an 0 for affect their next day? I go, look at the box score on how many days, and they practice this. This is an acquired skill that they've worked on years and years.
Mm-hmm.
The day after going 0 for 3, Aaron Judge might have had a 2 home run game. You think he's thinking about the 0 for 3 the next game? No, he's resetting. He's not thinking about it. He's moving forward. Same with Juan Soto. You watch him in the box, and you're like, that's the most confident man I've ever seen in the box. Like, he's battling. When you look at him, you're like, whether he's down 0-2, most of the at-bats he's down 0-2 and he goes to 3-2. And that's because of his confidence. He knows what counts or what he has to do to manipulate the pitcher. And I use the word manipulate because he might not be feeling that most confident all the time, but he's showing it. And he's manipulation. That's manipulation at its finest. So I guess, and it also is like, I keep going back to, and I love how you brought up the word embody because I love that word as well. Embodying who you are and knowing what it takes to be successful day in, day out, and what you need to get there. And I think it goes back to values. So that's my next thing I was going to ask you is how do you align your values with your teaching techniques and this mental performance space?
Yeah, it's just like I think some of like the most simple golden rules or whatever you want to call them that we were taught early on are kind of like the guiding factors when I'm trying to help players. I'm always trying to tell the truth. I'm not going to tell you something I don't believe in, right? Because you should always tell yourself the truth and don't believe in something that you don't. You know what I mean? Treat others how you want to be treated. Simply like, and what that means though, the layer behind that people don't understand. Treat yourself how you want to be treated. The thoughts that you think in your mind, treat yourself like that. Because again, like the dynamic of the thoughts that you think in your head are so important to your success. But again, like I think like morals of, I think sometimes we've gotten away from that, the fact that it's a team game, and there's always an angle that you can play on your team to better you and to better the team, whether you're the top guy or whether you're the bottom guy. There's always an angle for you to benefit the team, whether that's, you're the guy at practice that always brings the bucket of balls out, that always cleans up. You're always playing that role. Whether you're the guy that, kind of breaks the ice. Maybe you got a quiet team, but you're a talker. Okay, you kind of break the ice, get the blood flowing. Like I considered myself like 1A, 1B with another player I played with, Patrick Whalen. And I used to have conversations with him. I'm like, the team's gonna go if we go. So like that was our angle. Like we had to, carry the weight a little bit. But there's always an angle for you as a player, and I just wish more players understood that. There's always an angle. I know that it kind of deviated from the values a little bit, but I just think that like always think positive. If there's one value that I wanted to shed off to the players that I coach, just always think positive. What's the angle? What's the positive angle we can work from here?
I love that. I'm very value driven in how I teach. I loved what you were saying. It's know your role and how you can provide value. So I don't think you really strayed away from the question. I think you posed, how can I provide value in my role? And teaching it through positivity is important because positivity is contagious
Mm-hmm.
in everything, but especially in the game of baseball. You got to be positive. You got to be upbeat. I don't care if you're down 6-0. You're gonna be positive because I'm the one in the
Yeah.
dugout that's going, dude. Like we're chipping away. We're about to get back in this game right here. Like
Yeah.
don't let's go. Like let's get it going. Um, and that was really like I think of myself as like the heartbeat. Like that was my role. And whatever team I was on, I was gonna be the heartbeat. I was gonna be the one that got us going, but also knowing my role and when to be a leader and to lead with by example. But as a practitioner, I align my values with I'm coaching the person behind the player. Um, Everything I teach, whether it's discipline, accountability, resilience, and growth, it's
Yeah.
because I believe the athletes don't just need motivation. They need systems, they need standards, but allow them to create the standard. And they
Mm-hmm.
need skills that they can rely on under pressure. And the reason it connects so deeply is because I'm not just teaching concepts I've read in a book. And it's not
Mm-hmm.
to go that I don't believe in the concepts that I've learned and that are proven by science. It's that I like to teach, and it's my style. I like to teach on situations and things that I've lived through because
Mm-hmm.
I can relate to it more. I can I can teach it through the lens of which I've lived it. Um, and that's what makes me unique in this field. And everybody's unique in their own ways. But
Mm-hmm.
these are skills that I've had to build through my own experiences in life and sport, through adversity, through pressure, through growth. Um, I know what it feels like to struggle with confidence, identity, um, and that's why, like, I coach with my heart. You know, I wanna give them tools to become more consistent in those areas because when I was playing, I wish I had that, and I
Mm-hmm.
wanna be that person they can lean on. I'm here to impact people. I'm not in this for myself. I'm in this to impact people. I wanna see others succeed. And there's this word that I learned when I was at IMG from a guy named Diamond Hall, which I'll tell you another thing by him later on. Um, but I always told him, I go, there's a lot of people that, just don't aren't happy when other people succeed. I'm not one of them. And, that's why I love mental performance too, because I get happy and I feel value and happiness when I see others succeed. Because I know that I played a part in that, or I helped guide them in the right direction to get there. And I like
Mm-hmm.
seeing things click for other people. And he called it mudita. And I was like, "What is that?" And he goes, "It's being proud by other people's success." And there was a word for it, and I really started to like think about it. And that's a value that I'm really um, I live by.
Mm-hmm.
I'm I'm gonna be proud. Like you get a big time job and whatever you want to do. Like I'm not gonna be the guy like pulling you down. I'm gonna be like, Coach Red, I'm proud of you, man. You deserve it. I know how hard you work, and I'm just really proud of you, man. Like I'm
Mm-hmm.
that guy, and I, and
Yeah.
I, and I try to teach that through in a different lens. I'm not by the textbook. I'm not textbook definition. I
Mm-hmm.
teach a little differently, and I know it rubs some people the wrong way. But this is me, and
Right.
everybody's teaching techniques. You have to be yourself, right? Or it's not going to hit home. If you're teaching this to someone else and you're not being yourself, they're going to read right through you, and they're going to be like, "Why are you trying to be someone you're not?" But
Yeah.
if I can be down to earth with you, and I can have a conversation, and I can show you why this system works, and based on I can use the science, I can use research, but when I can relate, that relatability is everything in this space. If you can't get the relatability, you already lost them.
Mm-hmm.
But if they can see, man, Coach Charlie, I can relate. I can relate to that. Like that's what I'm going through right now. I've been through that too. So what did you do about it? Well, this
Mm-hmm.
is what I did, but also these techniques help. And they'll sit there and they'll be like, okay, I trust you. It's gaining that sense of trust.
Mm-hmm.
See, So there's so many different values that I try to incorporate,
Yeah.
but the biggest one is, you know, like you said, positivity, but I lead, and sometimes it's a killer for me, but I lead with my heart, and that's why I
Mhm.
love this space because you can see my passion. You should feel it when I'm talking about mental performance because this isn't just mental performance for me. This is a way of life.
Yeah. Yeah. And the one thing that you made me think of there is like, so the mantra I used to say when I was playing a lot was like, I'm grateful to be where I'm at 'cause I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. But the one that I tell myself as a coach often now, I try to remind myself is, I'm a coach. I care more about the human than the player. Because like
Mm,
these skills that we teach are going to be more for their lifetime than just their playing career.
I love that. No, I love that, and I can tell you, Coach Red, you got great values, and you really, you really stand on them, and I feel like, that's one of the reasons why I wanted to have you on this podcast is, again, I'm gonna keep bringing it up, this is a values-driven podcast, and
Mm-hmm.
I think it's really important in this space to keep preaching, how do we align our values through what we're teaching, and when we can hear each other's values and why we c we can kind of paint the picture together, and
Yeah.
I can be like, "Okay, I understand why you teach us that way." And I
Yeah.
think, when I was explaining mine, you kind of were looking at me like, "Well, it makes sense why you create some of the content that you do. I can see it."
Yeah, for
It
sure.
starts to come full circle, um, but, I love having these conversations. What's one piece of advice you would give your younger self?
Um, don't look don't look too far ahead. Just like do as best as you can in the short term. Focus on your moments. Um, the long term will play out. Like people like to think like really long, like far down the line, and it's like the compounding effect. Like you don't realize the compounding effect that will happen like the further you look downstream. So if I'm in freshman in high school and I'm already thinking about college, like don't get too caught up in showcase numbers, reaching out to colleges in your ninth grade year. Maybe if you're good enough and you're already at that stage, go for it. But like if you're worried that you're not going to be good enough to say play in college as an example, don't think about college. Think about, am I maximizing my habits, what I can do in this short term, getting ready for my freshman season? Like, I would sometimes get caught up, and sometimes I still do, like too far out. So I'd probably tell myself, focus on the short term. The long term will handle itself. What about you?
I was just about to I mean, you really stole the words out of my mouth from my first part is focus on the present, um,
Mm-hmm.
and keep stacking good days, win the day, and to win the day, you gotta focus on what's important now. So win what's
Mm-hmm.
important now, and when you focus on what's important now daily, you're gonna get 1% better.
Mm-hmm.
And I love the fact that you brought up, like, some people might be in a better position now and getting looks than others. But, I'll tell you this, like, a good example is that I used to love listening to, um, one guy with the Yankees right now, JC Escarra. Um, Very good baseball player, played independent ball, and was an Uber driver, and the Yankees gave him a minor league opportunity. Now he was with the major league team last year. Evan Gattis was a janitor. He was a
Yeah.
World Series champion with the Houston Astros. So my point is, it's not about sometimes where you're at. It's about your vision of who you want to become and how to get there, and
Mm-hmm.
believing in yourself. Because if you're listening to this, I'm gonna preach it 1,000 times throughout, all these podcasts. Anything is possible with hard work, discipline, and perseverance. And you know, for me, I was also like tell my younger self, be more open-minded, learn from everyone I meet, constantly work on active listening, like I was telling you, because the more you
Mm-hmm.
listen, the faster you're gonna grow and the faster you level up as a player and as a person. Um, and when I think about my legacy that I'm trying to create for myself as a coach, I want to impact as many people as I can and how they apply these techniques to improve their everyday life. So, telling you my legacy and how I want to be remembered in this
Mhm.
space, how do you want to be remembered, Coach Red?
Yeah, and that's still kind of a working thing. Um, but I wanna create an abundance of baseball players that succeeded because of mental skills, right? Like a lot of people evaluate players based off their skills, and a lot of them get sifted into this half. Half get, oh, they're talented, focus on this half. A lot of them get sifted over to this half, and it's like they don't get looked at, they don't get attention, they don't get appreciated because they might not have the confidence, or they might not have ways to respond, or and they don't understand, like, if they unlock that, you could end up back over here as a really talented player. So like I would love to have like an abundant, maybe like a whole generation of players that come up with mental skills earlier, way earlier than I acquired them, and maybe, just maybe, we start to see averages climb in the game of baseball, but that's a whole other topic.
No, I love that, and you know what, Coach Red, you're absolutely capable, and you're on the right track to being able to reach that. Um, and I'm
Likewise, bro.
very grateful to have had you on the pod. The last question before we end it: one phrase or one quote that you live by.
I'll give you two. So the 1% better thing, I actually have that tattooed on my arm under my sleeve. It's in Japanese terms, it's called kaizen. You gave me a word earlier. The word I have is kaizen. Kaizen is every day is a day to improve, even if it's only by 1%. So like every day is an opportunity. And then the second phrase that I probably live by is I'm grateful to be where I'm at because I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. Like thinking from that angle, I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be, and I'm grateful for where I'm at. Those are the two things that I probably
I love
resonate
that.
with me.
That that gives me the chills and it fires me up. The one that always sticks with me and I take it wherever I go was something I told you about a guy named Diamond Hall that I learned from at
Mm-hmm.
IMT Academy, and he taught me in leadership, if you spot it, then you got it. And I sat there and I was like, huh, that makes a lot of sense. And I didn't really think about it like that. And he goes, if you can recognize certain traits, strengths, or characteristics in others, it's because that same quality exists in you too. And the goal is to become aware of it, own it, and figure out how to use it as a strength in your own life and in performance. And to me, I was like, that's so powerful. And that's something that I can take with me wherever I go. And that's why not only do I try to learn from everyone I talk to, but I try to spot the characteristics I see in others because I
Mm-hmm.
want to see if I have those within myself or how can I work on acquiring them, which is really important to me.
Yeah.
But Coach Red, I really appreciated you coming in here to the Get In Here podcast, episode 2. To everyone tuning in, I'm extremely grateful that I get to share this passion with you and Coach Red get to share his passion. I really hope you guys keep tuning in. Episode 3 coming soon. Let's go.